Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time I am doing a little review of Arrow Video's Collector's Edition Blu-ray of RoboCop. Now, this is quite a cool Collector's Edition. This is a set that I highly recommend to die-hard RoboCop fans like myself because it definitely is a nice piece to put on your shelf, and it does have some legitimate merits, and I would say it's worth the money that you would pay for this set for a lot of these merits. But that being said, this is not a set that I would recommend to those of you who are not diehard fans of RoboCop. Like, if you just like the movie but you already have the film on Blu-ray, the remastered 2013 release with different features and stuff like that. If you are, speaking of that, if you already have this release and you're just one of those fans that are like, I like the movie, but I'm not like diehard about it, then I honestly cannot recommend this set. And I will explain why soon enough. Because this is one of those, I'm going to do more of these videos, and the thing is, when you're reviewing a Blu-ray, it's not like, oh, it's 10 out of 10 or like 5-star Blu-ray. Now, the whole reason for the review is to kind of let you know whether or not it's worth a purchase, because that's ultimately what matters when it comes to a Blu-ray, because it's ultimately going to be up to you to decide whether or not it's worth spending money on. And for most diehard RoboCop fans, they already have this anyway, or the Steelbook, because, you know, it's RoboCop. I mean, and it has all these nice goodies, like you have a booklet with photos and different sort of interviews and things like that, and it's quite well done. And then, of course, you also have the set itself, which comes in with a reversible sleeve for the cover art, which I decided to move it to the original poster art because it's just such an iconic bit of poster art, and I'm so glad that they had that option, because as much as I like the new poster art, the theatrical poster is just, it's just a really wonderful poster, and I love looking at it. It's definitely a lot better than this generic looking garbage. But it has 2 discs. One has the director's cut, and another one has the theatrical cut on it. So you have the director's cut, and then you have the theatrical cut. They both are the same transfer that was on the 2013 release. This particular release, and there's some other cool extras and stuff. Like they come with lobby cards, so reproductions of the lobby cards. So if that's your thing, you know, you get some cool lobby cards. Nice little collector's items. And it also comes with a poster, which I already have on my wall. And it comes with a sticker recreation of the promotional sticker where it says, "This property is protected by RoboCop," which is pretty cool, actually. So, there's some nice, cool, fun goodies that come with this that, if you're a diehard fan of RoboCop or the franchise, it's worth getting. And plus, the presentation is just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this is just a absolutely gorgeous looking set with some really cool cover art, really nice looking box, hardback box, and cool little OCP logo there in the back. So yeah, it's a really great looking set when it comes to its presentation. When you get deeper into it, though, this is where you get into the point where it's not really worth the big bucks for the casual RoboCop fan. And a little bit disappointing for diehard fans, because this was not cheap. It's a pretty high price tag for this. I know the Steelbook was cheaper, but I didn't really want the Steelbook. Like, if I'm gonna splurge and I'm gonna go and spend over 20 bucks, or like actually over 25, I'm gonna spend like $25 or more on a RoboCop Blu-ray, I'm gonna go for the limited collector's edition. I'm not gonna go for the with all the bells and whistles. I'm not going for the steelbook. Uh, but anyway, this has a 4K restoration of the film. But it's just the same restoration that was on the 2013 release. It still looks great, but it's essentially the same transfer. There's a marginal, like, really tiny difference between the two releases. Mainly that's just because Arrow is so good at offering their discs, and they put so much time and effort into that, that there's a little bit of a difference between the 2013 release and this release, just for that reason alone. So there's a minor upgrade, but not enough that any casual fan or anyone's really going to notice unless they really pay attention. Like it's there, but it's not a glaring difference between the two transfers. Um, and both of the transfers are the same, whether it's the director's cut or the theatrical cut. Both of them are the same that were on the 2013 Blu-ray. It has the archive commentary with Paul Verhoeven, John Davidson, and Ed Neumeyer, which was originally recorded for the theatrical cut. And it's been a long time since I heard that, so I can't really say anything about it. In these videos, I'm not really going to be saying anything about the commentary tracks because it's not really my bag. I'm not really into commentary tracks. It's not really something that I'm really interested in. So I normally just focus on the featurettes or the interviews or the documentaries. So there's also another commentary with film historian Paul M. Salmon. There's another one with Christopher Griffiths, Gary Smart, and Eastwood Allen, who I think are involved with RoboDoc. I know Christopher Griffiths and Gary Smart are. And then you have the new interviews and featurettes. So the new features consist of the future of law enforcement, creating RoboCop, a newly filmed interview with co-writer Michael Miner. It's like 15 minutes, and that's not counting the extra bits of the film that they use to pepper in or to pad the running time. And it's one of those extra features on this release that it's okay, but it's nothing particularly memorable or that great. And I'm not going to give away all the stuff that's said in these interviews because that would defeat the purpose. Like, I want this to be a little bit of a surprise for people who decide to buy these Blu-rays. I want people to be like, oh, that was really interesting. That was really cool. I'm really glad that I saw that. I'm really glad that I have this release, so I had the opportunity to learn this bit of information or to hear that story. But from my perspective, just it really wasn't much of an interview. Like he just talked about his origins, how he started up as a writer, and then a little bit about the creative process and thought process behind RoboCop and how it came to be. It really wasn't that much of an interview, and for a fan of RoboCop, I didn't really learn a whole lot of new things that I hadn't already heard before. Then there's RoboTalk, which is a conversation, sort of a roundtable conversation with Ed Neumeyer and David Burke and Nicholas McCarthy, and that did nothing for me. Another example of where I didn't really learn much new, and I wasn't really into the other two guys. What they talked about wasn't anything that I haven't heard a million times from RoboCop fans talking about RoboCop. No offense. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it just really wasn't that interesting. But then you had Truth of Character, which was an interview with Nancy Allen, and that was the best new feature on this set. Nancy Allen was charismatic as hell. She was just an absolute darling and shared a lot of fun anecdotes and was just really a joy to watch. And it wasn't really that long of an interview. It was only 18 minutes, but it went by in a flash because it was just so much fun to watch her. And she had so many fun memories associated with the movie, and you could just tell that she just loved the character of Lewis and really relished the opportunity to talk about it. So it was just a really great interview. Um, Casting Old Detroit, which was an interview with the casting director Julie Selzer. This was just, I mean, no offense to Julie Selzer, but this was an absolutely, I don't know if I'd say worthless. No, I'm going to be harsh and I'm going to be honest. It was a worthless feature. Like, there was no reason for this to even be on the Blu-ray. It was so short. It was only 8-something minutes, and that's not counting the padding that's thrown in there with scenes or pictures from the production. Uh, there really wasn't anything of note that was mentioned by her about her association with the film or how she cast it. It really wasn't really anything that interesting. It was one of those things where it's just like, this could have easily been left off the Blu-ray and it would not really have led to any negative consequences or anything. Like, it wouldn't really have been that big of a deal. I've completely forgotten about the 8 minutes already. That's how, essentially worthless the information was. I mean, no offense to Julie. Seems like a really nice gal, but it just seemed like a really just lackluster, pointless feature because it's so short and doesn't really add that much to the overall RoboCop mythos or to the behind the scenes stories or to any of the other features that are already out there. Then you have Connecting the Shots. It's an interview with Mark Goldblatt. That one was fine, although Mark Goldblatt didn't really work on the movie for that much. So it was nice to hear Mark Goldblatt, and I like Mark Goldblatt and stuff like that. But it was another one of those features, though, that was like, it was just okay. I'm not really going to watch that again. Then you had Analog, which was a featurette about the photography effects with interviews with Peter Curran and Kevin Kuchaver, who worked on the movie. This is like 10 minutes, and like 5 or 6 of it is just them reminiscing about their childhood and talking about how they became interested in effects, and that's cool and everything, but it felt pretty hollow to me because it's like, I'm not watching this to get a history lesson on these two. I'm watching this to see what they did and how they did the effects in RoboCop. I mean, no offense to either of these guys. They seem like great guys, but like, I don't really care about your life story. I'm just being honest. And that's a lot of that was just their life story, and it just wasn't that interesting to me. And then you had More Man Than Machine composing RoboCop. This is a tribute to Basil Apollodorus and to his score, and I liked it. Even though it's probably stuff that people have heard before in regards to the score, I really liked the featurette, the tribute to Basil, because I hadn't heard some of these things before about how detailed and how much extra work went into his score, and how there's a lot more things going on in the score than I initially thought. And it was also a lot of fun to see super fans of Basil's score talk about the score. And that was something that was really cool too, because I'm also a super fan of Basil's score. So it was really cool to see other people who were composers or film score enthusiasts or historians talk about it in a way that's as beaming as I have talked about it for so many years. Yeah, because it has interviews with Jeff Bond, Luke Kendall, Daniel Schweiger, and Robert Townsend. Then you had Robo Props. For some reason, I'm having a hard time saying that. I can't say this fucking word. Robo Props, a newly filmed tour of superfan Julien Dumont's collection of original props and memorabilia. I like that one too, because it was well shot, it was well edited, had some really great cinematography and direction in it. And it was cool to see Julian's collection and to see him talk about it. That was one of those new features that I definitely liked on this set. They also carry over the 2012 Q&A with the filmmakers, a panel discussion from, I think, a Comic-Con or something like that. And it's fine, but it's not particularly amazing. I mean, because that's what a lot of Q&As are, I gotta be honest. a lot of fans ask the same questions, and there's really not a lot of new stuff, new information, or new stories that you get from the people involved. But it's still fun if you don't know all these other stories already. And there was a couple new things that were thrown in there, but that's an old feature that was on the 2013 release. Then you have RoboCop, creating a legend, villains of old Detroit, and special effects then and now. These are 3 archive featurettes from the 2013 release, and I think were a part of the original special edition DVD by MGM back in the day. And those still hold up really well, because you got some really great interviews with Miguel Ferrer and Ray Wise and Peter Weller and Paul Verhoeven and other people involved with the movie. I got to be honest, they were the best features on this set, and they're archive features. That's a big reason why I don't recommend a casual RoboCop fan or just someone who likes the film spending big bucks on this set, because the best features are the old features. And you don't even get all of the old features. That's another thing that I felt was a little bit lame about this set, is that it doesn't port over the Flesh and Steel documentary, which is actually quite good. It doesn't port that over, even though it was on the 2013 release. And it also doesn't port over the archival featurette shooting RoboCop that was made to promote the movie in 1987. It doesn't port that over either, which is too bad, because it has a really fun intro with Peter Weller in character in the RoboCop suit and Miguel Ferrer in character as Morton, introducing RoboCop to the audience, which is a really fun little clip. So that's not included on here either. So there's 2 different archival featurettes that are not on this disc. I don't know if it has to do with rights issues, which doesn't really make any sense, or the fact that maybe Arrow was like, well, we don't want to put those on there because the picture quality isn't HD. Whatever it is, like, it sounds like an excuse to me. Like, the 2013 release has those on there, so why aren't they on here? It's just that's one thing that just baffles me. You got the Paul Verhoeven Easter egg. You have the deleted scenes. You have the boardroom storyboard with commentary by Phil Tippett. You have the director's cut production footage. And you have the theatrical trailers and TV spots and image galleries. But you don't have any of those extra features. The archival features. But it was still nice that they still ported over the other features, though, which is great, because I love the villains documentary, the little mini featurette on the villains, especially this. I love the story of Miguel Ferrer and it's mainly Miguel Ferrer who's talking about this, and I don't know if Kurtwood Smith has a little bit too, because he's also interviewed too, which is great, and he's talking about the bitches scene, bitches leave, and Paul Verhoeven's just saying it so nonchalantly on set. It's so great. It's like, all right, okay, bitches, we're going to be filming this scene, bitches. It's like, and we're going to do the bitches leave. The bitches leave. All right, bitches, that's a wrap, bitches. That's a wrap on the bitches. Thank you. Oh, it's just so great. I just find it so fun to watch that particular little featurette. The bad guys, they're so bored on the steel mill set that they're stealing golf carts from crew members and having races around the steel mill. Yeah, and you can just tell that the villains that were interviewed, like, they absolutely adored their time on the film, and it's just great. Ronnie Cox was also interviewed there too. There's just so many great interviews in those featurettes, like 3-part featurettes. The first 2 are mainly talking about in the making of the movie, and then they talk about the villains. So you have interviews with Peter Weller, Paul Verhoeven, Kurtwood Smith, Miguel Ferrer. Ronnie Cox. I think Nancy Allen's also in there, and other people involved with the production. I think like the promotional head at Orion is also interviewed, and then you have the bit where they're talking about the effects, which is interesting and informative. Flesh and Steel covers a lot of the same stuff, but there's also extra stuff, extra anecdotes that are not in these 3 featurettes, so that's why I wish Flesh and Steel was on here. But that's all the stuff that's on disc 1, the director's cut. If we're talking about new features, the best one is the Nancy Allen interview. But if we're talking about just features in general, the best features on this are still the archival featurettes, the 3 featurettes that were a part of the 2013 release and previous releases. And then you have disc 2, which is the theatrical cut, and it does include the TV cut of the movie, where you have the whole scene where instead of the guy saying fuck me in the convenience store, he's like, why me, why me, why me, and you have all these other like funny, hilarious dubs like, you're gonna be one bad mother crusher. I even called him Iron Butt and Airhead. So that's a fun version to watch just to laugh at. And there's like a compilation of edited for television versions, including outtakes from things. So that's really all the features though on the second disc. I mean, you have some isolated score tracks, so if that's your thing, there are some on there, and an archive commentary of Paul Verhoeven that was originally, and John Davison, which was originally, as well as Ed Normire, which was originally recorded for the theatrical cut. So there's that, but really that's all that you get in terms of the extra features for the second disc. Overall, it's a solid release. It's a good release. I wouldn't call it like one of the best releases of the year because of the reasons I outlined already. A lot of the new features are fairly underwhelming or kind of forgettable, although there are some ones that I did enjoy in this particular set. But still, the archival features are the best, which is kind of lame. And then they don't even include all of the archival features, like the Shooting RoboCop featurette or the mini documentary Flesh and Steel. So that's definitely a letdown. And then the other extra bits on the second disc really aren't much to run home about, except other than having the TV cut to watch and laugh at. But yeah, I don't really rate these Blu-rays. But what I do say is it worth it? And I said it in the beginning of the video, and I'll just reiterate that. It's worth it for die-hard fans of RoboCop, and I'm pretty sure most of you already have this or have the Steelbook. But it's not really worth it for casual fans or people who just like the movie and already have the 2013 Blu-ray. Because there's really not a whole lot extra that's really going to make it worth it for the high price tag and make it worth the bang for your buck, because it's just not really that much of a bang for your buck. It's kind of a whimper if you are not a diehard fan of RoboCop, which I think most of the new information that we might gather about the creation of the movie is going to be in RoboTalk. That's really where I think a majority of it's going to be, and I guess we're just going to have to wait until that comes out, because what we got here is pretty slim pickings for new interviews and new featurettes, other than the interview with Nancy Allen. But anyway, still glad to have it because it's RoboCop and it's a really cool looking set presentation wise, and it's a nice shelf piece to put on my shelf and display. So for that reason alone, for completely superficial reasons, but hey, those are reasons too. It was worth it for me. But anyway, I don't really know what else to say except thanks for watching the video, and I will see you later. See ya.